I have 3 dogs up my ass, I feel like shit, and the arthritis is going crazy. Let's go! Recording day! I have a confession to make. I'm obsessed with Vikings. They fascinate me. Normally, a weeaboo would be obsessed with Japanese culture, but not this weeb. This weeb has a thing for European royal family history and Viking culture. It just so happens that there's an anime perfectly suited for that obsession. Vinland Saga is an anime first by Wit Studio, then taken over by MAPPA, which debuted in July 2019 and is currently awaiting its 3rd season. It's based off a manga by Makoto Yukimura, which started in 2005 and literally just ended on July 25th, 2025. That's a 20-year run. That manga is only younger than me by 3 years, and they just made an anime adaptation in 2019. Banana fish vibes. Anyways, if you're new to Vinland Saga, I'll be making a different video going over the story and my favorite parts from both the manga and the anime, so keep checking back to check out that video. But today, I wanted to talk about the characters, specifically my favorite characters. Before that, hi! You can call me Avery. I'm a budding content creator from nowhere, Pennsylvania, who still doesn't have a job 4 months after graduating college because America. So I've decided to focus on my art and content creation while I wait to be employed or get an internship in the animation industry. I make content in the style of creepshow art, but without the stalking, while yapping about whatever I want a la D'Angelo Wallace. My last video was on the allegations against voice actor Mike Himoto and the controversy it stirred up within the Love and Deep Space fandom. This week is all about my favorite characters in Vinland Saga, one of my favorite shows. If you like the video, or the last one, be sure to like, subscribe, and share me around because my last video got a lot more views than I thought it would. Vinland is a series full of amazing characters. Because they're Vikings, and most of them are morally gray, especially the main character. But instead of starting out with our main character, I'm going to start out with my favorite and end with my least favorite of the favorite. Got it? Good. FYI, any clips I end up using from the show are going to be in dub, and we're mostly going to be using the Sentai/VSI dub because even though he is in it, so is Jesse James Greeley, and I worship the ground she walks on. So, yeah. Askeladd is the main antagonist of Season 1 of Vinland Saga. He's the man hired by Floki to kill the main character Thorfinn's father Thor. Right off the bat, when we first meet Askeladd, it's when Floki is hiring him for the assassination. We learn a few things here. Askeladd doesn't bother trying to rein in his men no matter who is around or what they're doing. He's clever and able to read people incredibly well, and he has a close bond with one of his men, Björn. At the beginning of the series, Askeladd's goal is basically to do whatever he wants and bring in as much gold as he can. He basically does everything for the glory of it, like a true Viking. He's a very cruel man. He'll kill whoever to get the job done, and he allows his men to rape and torture people before killing them just for fun. When a 6-year-old Thorfinn follows him around to try to kill him to get revenge for his father's death, Askeladd does nothing to help the child. He lets Thorfinn starve, doesn't teach him how to survive, and when he accepts a duel from the child, instead of holding back, he simply beats Thorfinn, telling him that if he wants to defeat him, then the kid needs to get strong and learn how to fight. However, seeing how desperate and angry Thorfinn is, along with during one raid, Thorfinn kills a man for the first time, Askeladd allows Thorfinn to continue following his gang, and they eventually strike a deal. For every task Thorfinn does, Askeladd will fight him one fair duel, which Thorfinn always loses. He doesn't just let Thorfinn wallow though. Every time Thorfinn loses against Askeladd, Askeladd gives Thorfinn advice on how to better himself in battles, as well as taunting him by telling him he'll never be as strong as him. Askeladd is an interesting character despite being cruel. He's cruel because it's how the world was when this series takes place. In Norse society, kindness is considered weakness. You can't be nice and go out of your way to help everyone because you'll be taken advantage of. You won't be respected. There's also a sort of class system within Norse society. Being born to a slave makes you less than everyone else. Unless your father claims you, then you have a chance for a better life. Askeladd is not his real name. His father never gave him a name, despite eventually taking in the boy and claiming him. His mother named him after their ancestor, father, Lucius Artorius Castus, which was the man that inspired the King Arthur legend. His mother was a woman of royal descent from Wales who was captured and enslaved by his father. Olaf, Askeladd's father, kept Lydia, his mother, captive in his bedroom until one day she got sick, then cast her out into the barn to deteriorate further and further, leaving Askeladd as her sole caretaker. Because of this, Askeladd played nice with his father and brothers until one day he used the sword of the brother that hated him most to kill Olaf and his wife so that his other brothers would lynch the one Askeladd framed. Since he got his revenge early, he kinda just did whatever he wanted. Through his charismatic ways, he was able to gain his men on his crew and convince powerful people to do whatever he wanted. Askeladd became a sort of father figure and mentor to Thorfinn. In my opinion, he definitely had a lot more respect for Thorfinn than he had for even Björn. I think this is because of what Askeladd admits to his crew before committing himself to Knut's serving near the end of the season 1. He tells his crew, who are fed up with Askeladd's plans suddenly falling through, that he's always hated the Danes. This is of course because of his childhood. Askeladd sees Danes as never satiated dogs, always on the hunt for the next fight or kill or the next woman to rape. He hates how they seemingly have no morals or care for anyone else, how they bring destruction everywhere they go. Thorfinn isn't like that though. He sees that Thorfinn doesn't participate in the torturing of innocents, and it makes Askeladd see himself in Thorfinn. There are times he tries to give Thorfinn actual serious advice, but since Thorfinn hates his guts, he doesn't listen to very sound advice. I really like Askeladd, and I think he's probably the second best written character in the series. My little bundle of sunshine, my baby boy, my adorable little anger-infused schnookums. Thorfinn Karlsefni is the main character and the best written character in all of Vinland Saga. The story begins and ends with him, and we literally see him grow from a naive little boy to a fully realized but still learning adult. Straight up, you know his innocence is gonna be crushed because this is a seinen series, and it's set in the Viking Age. Thorfinn's rage against Askeladd is extremely understandable, but personally, it did get tiring after a while. I think that was kind of the point though. I think as an audience, we're supposed to realize alongside Thorfinn that revenge is just a want, it's not a need. As he grows up, he should start thinking about what else he wants to do with his life instead of just living to take revenge for his father's murder. This realization peaks out a little bit throughout the first season, but it's always pushed back into its place when Thorfinn remembers what Askeladd did, and therefore the flame is stoked once again. Even Leif telling Thorfinn about his mother's declining health and Ylva's marriage and children couldn't snap Thorfinn out of his lust for rage. He tells Leif he doesn't know what he's been through, and he's right. It also reminds the audience of what he's been through since Askeladd killed his father. He nearly starved, drowned, and was nearly killed hundreds if not thousands of times. He's killed thousands of innocents and turned the other cheek when grown men around him asked him to join in on raping local women. This is a traumatized teenager, far from the trauma he might have gotten if he had stayed living a peaceful life with his family in Iceland. At the end of the first season, Knut kills Askeladd, and suddenly, Thorfinn has nothing to live for. Askeladd tells him to search for more outside of revenge, and even begs Thorfinn to finish him off so he can complete his goal and find peace within himself. Instead, Thorfinn pulls his blade against Knut, a decision which ends with Knut selling Thorfinn into slavery to avoid killing him himself. This is very divisive within the fandom, as most fans claim that slavery is worse than death. But this is Danish slavery we're talking about. Usually, in these times in Dane law, if a man were to be enslaved, he could work or buy himself out unless someone else buys his freedom back. Had Thorfinn been a woman, I could understand and even agree with this sentiment. However, Thorfinn is a man, and a strong one, which would mean he would be someone's strong man, not their toy. This is exactly what happens. In comes Kettle to buy Thorfinn and offer him freedom within 3 years of his arrival onto the farm. His only tasks? Clear out an entire section of forest and till the soil for farming, and help out on the rest of the farm when needed. Honestly, in my opinion, this is a good fucking deal. Until Einar arrives, Thorfinn is alone in that forest, chopping down trees for hours at a time. He's almost like a robot. He doesn't allow himself to feel anything, almost as if he's in shock. He eats, sleeps, and works. All without complaint, all without back-talking the retainers. He's obedient only because he has no goals. When Einar arrives and starts talking to him, showing him his positive personality and vigor for life, Einar's enthusiasm forced Thorfinn out of his silence and solitude and made him look at himself in a way no one else had encouraged. Then came the dream sequence. One day during a fight with the retainers of the farm, Thorfinn is knocked out cold, leaving him unconscious and into his nightmare that he's forced to remain in. The dream starts with him on a cliff, holding on and trying to climb to the surface, only to be dragged back down by the ghosts of the people he killed. In this dreamscape, he meets Aslak, who gives Thorfinn a talk about redemption. It's still possible to atone for the deaths he caused as a child soldier. Therefore, Thorfinn finally has a reason to keep going. His new goal? Create a society where people of all walks of life can live freely, without persecution of any kind. No more slaves, no more war, and no kings either. He mostly keeps this idea to himself until the whole ordeal with Garthur ends in Arnave's death, where Thorfinn tells her of a place where she could be free, to live with her husband and children, away from slavery, and war to live in peace. Thorfinn is a very caring person throughout the story. He helps Arnave when she hides her husband, a fellow slave named Garthur, from Snake and his men who are hunting him down after he escapes and murders his old master and his sons, and after he kills many of Snake's men in his second escape from their bonds. Thorfinn, having been on both sides of the situation, completely understands both sides, but chooses to help Arnave because, unlike Snake, she's a slave, she is not free, and now she has a chance at freedom. After Arnave dies, Thorfinn goes to confront Canute, who has waged war on Ketil's farm. His goal was to stop the fighting on both sides and come to an agreement. He even took the worst beating of his life just to get a chance to see the new king. Eventually, he gets his wish, and the first thing he does is apologize to Canute for having raised his blade to him and giving him a lifelong scar. As the two talk, it's very clear they have very different ideas of how to bring peace among people. Eventually, they decide on an agreement. Thorfinn will help anyone he can with kindness and peace, while Canute will bear the burden of building peace with necessary violence. This is an amazing scene that shows both of the characters' development and opposing yet similar views. Above all, Thorfinn is a pacifist that has only reached a peaceful conclusion after years of committing brutal acts upon innocent victims. He didn't always care about others in the way he does at the end of season 2. He learned how to care and empathize with others only after finding his own purpose in life. And for that, I think Thorfinn is not only the most well-written character in Vinland Saga, but one of the best written characters in all of literature. Let me start this out by saying I'm completely biased because I would let this man step on me. Canute is exactly my type. Pretty, blonde hair, blue-eyed, feminine-looking man with a domineering and cold attitude. But he wasn't always like that. The Canute we meet in the middle of season 1 is meek, spoiled, and sheltered beyond belief. His religious beliefs taught to him by his foster father Ragnar make his biological father Sweyn think of him as a weak, easily fooled boy, unfit for a crown. Canute is sent off with a meager army by Sweyn to a separate battlefield because the man is certain that his son won't survive it. Canute is then kidnapped by Thorkel, while he, the priest Willibald, and Ragnar are praying. He doesn't put up a fight at all, almost like he's happy to be kidnapped because it means his father will have to save him. And saved he is, by Aslak's group. Right away, Aslak is disappointed by the feminine-looking boy because he's the exact opposite of what a future king should be. Now, I had to rewrite this multiple times because if I went over Canute's character as much as I wanted to, I'd never get this script done. Because my previous section about him was like 5 pages long, and I don't want to be here all day. Instead, I just want to emphasize how great of a character he is. He grew up humbly because of his father-son relationship with Ragnar, but also has a lot of resentment built up because of his poor relationship with Sweyn. As he grows, and after Aslak kills Ragnar in season 1, Canute grows more cunning and conniving. He's able to play mind games with his father and eventually defeat him with help from Aslak, gaining himself the crown of England. He's even able to prevail against the former king Sweyn had defeated, Ethelred, and Ethelred's son Edmund, along with marrying Ethelred's widowed wife. This twunk is a menace, and executed the man who helped him do it under the guise of the man being untrustworthy due to his betrayal of both the formerly mentioned Englishmen. He's able to kill his way to the crown of England once again and begin his plans for the utopia he has in mind, except he runs into another problem. His brother, King of Denmark, Harald. This too is solved in the same way he solved his issues with Ethelred and Edmund. Murder. Canute poisons his brother, and since they are close, Harald deems Canute the new king of Denmark. Through twisted reasoning and the hallucination of his father's decapitated head speaking to him, Canute is able to bear with the guilt killing his own brother has on his conscience. He's even able to go after the loyal and innocent Kettle to take his farm by force, all to better his utopia. I've seen and heard many people compare Canute to Griffith from Berserk, and to that I say, how fucking dare you? They are very similar in looks and aspirations, I'll give you that, but Canute is not someone selfish, he's selfless, and that has led to a twisted mindset, sure, but not one like Griffith's. Maybe I'll do a video in the future comparing the two. Honestly, this spot was going to go to Snake, but then I realized that I like Arnave more. So, yeah. Arnave is a character we're introduced to in the second episode of season 2. She's first brought up to be Einar's love interest, but as we learn more about her, she becomes something more. A perfect portrayal of the patriarchal society. Even though Vikings were more progressive in the way they treated free women, they were 10 times less progressive when it came to the women they enslaved. If a free woman in Norse society is raped by a man, that man can either be killed by her or her male family members, or he can be punished by whoever runs her village. You see, a free woman in Norse society had pretty much every right the men did, sometimes even more so. She would have the option to say yes or no to marrying a man, and was allowed into whatever profession she chose if she had the strength and the skill. These were great strides for feminism, but above all, Norse society was still a patriarchal one. A woman was connected to either her father or her husband. She was never truly seen as her own person. She had no rights to inheritance in the case of her father or her husband's death, and while the Nords believed that once married, the man and the woman owned each other, the woman was still considered as a lesser individual to her husband. An enslaved woman only had the rights her master allowed her, which most of the time was none. An enslaved woman was used as a housekeeper, a wife, and a sex slave, or used in what were essentially Viking-aged factories. Arnave was a housekeeper who was also used as Kettle's concubine. Sometimes, but not often, a woman could buy herself out of slavery with whatever small amount of money she would earn, much like Einar, Thorfinn, and Patr did. But this wasn't the case with Arnave. Arnave's character is very important, in my opinion, because she represents the innocent people thrown into terrible situations, and sparks Thorfinn and Einar's journey to Vinland to make a better place for everyone to live. She was just a young woman minding her own business, living happily with her husband and their baby, until her husband Garthur made the decision to go to war with a neighboring village. The men of the village were convinced they needed the iron that was being fought over, while the women of the village begged the men to stay and not go to war. They didn't listen and went anyways, which left the village open to an eventual attack by the enemies. The elderly were slaughtered. They took the women and killed all of the young children too young to survive on a ship or too weak to become slaves. This included Arnave and Garthur's son. We don't learn this until later though. Before we learn all of this, the only things we see of Arnave are positive. She's kind, beautiful, caring, dutiful. She's pretty much the perfect slave. She does her job and never complains, even as Kettle cries into her naked lap after raping her that he isn't the brave man the others know, but a coward who hates violence. Arnave of course knows this isn't true, and she's the proof of it. Rape is a violent act, in mind and in action, and Kettle has done it countless times to her. This is why, when we see the scene in the anime, but especially in the manga, Arnave has a dead look in her eyes as Kettle cries to her. She knows what he's saying is a lie to himself. He's not a good man. He keeps a female slave not for innocent companionship or for housekeeping, but because she's beautiful, and he can do whatever he wants to her without consequence. He's a selfish, violent, horrible man, and she is his victim. We never see anything negative of Arnave until Garthur frees himself from his own slavery and goes on a killing spree to find her. It's only then that we see her put others in danger to escape her captivity and have even a small chance at living the life she used to. At first, she convinces herself she doesn't want to free herself. Garthur is captured by Snake and his men and taken captive at the guests' barracks, while Arnave tells Einar, Thorfinn, and Sverkel about her past and that she's pregnant with Kettle's child. She's willing to say goodbye to her husband for good just so she can live peacefully on Kettle's farm while raising their child. She has another chance at a semblance of the life she had before. Despite being enslaved, Kettle doesn't allow any other men to touch her, and she lives a normal life aside from Kettle's assaults and the mandatory housework. It's only when her husband apologizes confesses to her that our knave decides she wants to escape, and due to her attempt, she's beaten to death by Kettle. She's a true victim of circumstance and the patriarchy. Considering how long I've talked about her, maybe she also deserves her own video. Let me know if you're interested. Omar is the cowardly youngest son of Kettle. When we first meet him, he's an arrogant but cowardly 17-year-old boy being groomed by his father to one day take over the farm. Kettle's family is the prime example of what a Norse family was back then. The older son became a warrior, or in Thorgel's case, a thane. The daughters were married off. Kettle has a daughter between Thorgel and Omar. And the second son is groomed to take over the family business. I'm not sure exactly why. I assume it's because of his father's wealth, but Omar is an extremely arrogant little shit. He's also just the typical teenager. He mouths off to his father, he doesn't do what he's told, and rebels against all authority, mostly because, as the son of the master of the farm, he's allowed to. Omar wants to be a thane like his brother and fight alongside first King Harald, then Canute. He has a sword that his father bought him, but he's not good at using it at all, and is very clumsy with it. Despite his arrogance, there are early scenes in which we see his facade break. These moments are in the cabin after he finished having consensual sex with one of the girls his age on the farm, and he softens when she tells him she'd rather he stayed on the farm because she'd miss him than going off to fight in wars and potentially die. When Fox and Badger are trashed and go looking for him, he scolds them for stepping on his father's wheat. And when he refuses to kill Thorfinn and Einar when goaded on by the guests because he's afraid of harming people, but disguises it under the facade that he'd have to pay for them because they're his father's slaves and not his. Deep down, Omar is what his father thinks he is, a kind, gentle soul who really doesn't want to harm anyone, even if it's necessary. He finally allows himself to realize this when he kills a man for the first time in Yelling. After traveling to Yelling with his father, the men of his family meet with Canute, so Kettle can ask for his continued protection as the most prosperous farm in Denmark. Omar takes his chance and asks Canute to allow him to become a thane like his older brother. The trial doesn't go well though, because Omar can't even slice through a roasted pig. This is embarrassing for all three men, but it also wounded Omar's pride. Canute sends some messengers to deliver the rejection to Omar, and also to taunt him, leading to Omar attacking them to defend his honor. It's the first time he kills a man, and he immediately regrets it. He completely shuts down from the shock and guilt, while Thorgel takes it upon himself to kill the rest. As the men are on the run from the king himself, Omar stays to himself quietly, only following whatever his brother tells him. He refuses to help Thorgel kill Canute, and when he returns to the farm after abandoning battle, he runs into the injured. He's unable to take it and vomits on the spot. It's only then that Omar finally allows himself to admit to himself that this isn't what he wants. He allows himself to cry over what he's done. When Kettle is injured on the battlefield, Snake asks if the fighting should continue. Thorgel speaks up, but Sverkel points out that because Omar is the inheritor of the farm, he's the one to make the decision. Now 20 years old, with the life experience he needed to grow up, Omar makes the sane and wise decision to surrender to Canute. He doesn't want any more lives to be lost. He'd rather lose his inheritance and be banished than any more lives be taken because of his actions. Despite being yelled at by his mother and threatened by his brother, he stands firm in his decision and has no regrets upon seeing Thorfinn take a beating in exchange for a peaceful negotiation with Canute. In my opinion, Omar is a brilliant character because of his growth and genuine kindness. He never forces anyone to do anything. He doesn't take. He makes a mistake and tries his best to rectify it, and in the end, he's much better for it. Well, that was a lot. I was planning on making this my most and least favorite Vinland Saga characters video, but I think I'll have to split it up so I don't make the video too long. In conclusion, Vinland has amazing characters, and my favorites are literally just scratching the surface. We'll wait until we get to the characters I hate, some of which were already mentioned in this video. I'm thinking of making a video for both Canute and our knave each, because I do think they're amazing characters, and one video talking about why they're great isn't enough. Maybe I'll make our knaves into a feminism video, because I am indeed a feminist and I enjoy reading and talking about feminism. No one else in my life gives a fuck about this though. That's why I have this channel. Now I get to subject the world to my bullshittery. Thanks for watching. What's up? This is the part of the video where I just fucking rant. This is also the part of the video that is the least edited. My last video got 900 plus views, only like 20 some likes though. So, apparently I have to say like and subscribe, you know? I didn't think that would actually work. but we'll see. Like and subscribe for more. My next video was going to be about How to Train Your Dragon, but considering the detours I had to take with this video, maybe I'll do the characters of Vinland Saga I hate the most next, and then I'll go on to my favorite parts of the story, strictly in the anime though. So manga read. So like if you're not a manga reader, if you're an anime only, good for you. I won't spoil you there, but yeah. Yeah, my favorite character is Ashlad. I love Ashlad. He's great. I was very, very sad when he died. The ending of season 1 of Vinland Saga actually made me cry when I watched it for the first time, because I was like, oh man, it feels like I spent like a day and a half catching up with this, right? But it feels like forever. It feels like a really long time. And it was very overwhelming, and it was beautiful, and the way they did it in the anime was, oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. Some things, I love manga, right? I'm a comic artist myself, but there are some things in comics that you just can't do like you can with animation, and that's where I think anime thrives, because they have the opportunities to add stuff. I do have a gripe with Vinland Saga though. And that is, if it's a goddamn seinen series, why don't it get the same treatment as Berserk? Why do we get to see the nasty between Berserk? Why do we get to see the nasty between Casca and Griffith, right? But, like, you know, we don't see fully nude women in Vinland Saga. We don't see, like, they took out a whole scene in the manga during season 1. And it pissed me off when I found out. I mean, it's a scarring scene, I guess, but it's still a scene that I think is important for character development for Thorfinn. And it's a scene that I mentioned in this video, actually. I feel like shit. I don't know why. My brother is also sick. I think we're just getting sick. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Thank you everyone who watched my last video. Thank you to my subscribers that I have, the 4 subscribers that I have. I hope you stick around to watch the next video. Like, subscribe, comment, get me in the algorithm. That would be fucking great. What's up, weebs? Glad you can make it. I hope you like this video. I hope it wasn't just rambling for too long. Despite the fact that I was a German major, I did do a lot of character analyses because my German professor said that I was the best at that. So, you know, I don't know if he was being mean or not. I guess we'll find out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do I suck? Do I not? We'll see. Wait until the one where I say which characters I hate. Y'all are really gonna hate that one. Oh, my hick came out there. Anyways, bye!